Hi everyone, welcome to Watercolor Bible Journaling. I am Bonnie Krebs, and this week we're going to work our way through this little sparrow set. It's called On The Sparrow Set, and it actually has quite a few pieces. So 3 main pieces, these little birds that are on branches. So I'm going to show you how to put that together, and some little accent pieces. So we are going to need a couple of other things. So in the flower set, we're just going to use this little one right here. And then in the foliage set, the little vine right here. So that's all it's going to take. So we're going to start out with one of the little birds, and it really doesn't matter what order you put these in. Honestly, it doesn't. So I just chose one, and I'm going to start out by inking the branch, and I'm going to ink the branch in this dark brown. So just kind of a dark brown color. It almost looks like a sepia color. And then I'm going to go back over it with the dark blue. So 2 colors on that branch, and then on the little bird. So we're gonna actually color him quite a bit. So I'm going to use a lighter color. This is a 992, and I'm just going to use a lighter color on here. So I'm going to ink this little bird in this color. And then I'm going to start out by stamping this one first, and I'm going to put it just kind of towards the top here. So just like that. And then I'm going to come back in and do another one. And this one, I think I will place at the bottom. And then it's easy just to place that third one right in the middle. So I'm going to ink this one the exact same way. So I'm going to ink that branch in the brown, dark brown, and then go back over it with the dark blue. So 2 colors on this branch. And then that little bird, we're going to color him in that light color. And I'm going to stamp him now at the bottom. And I think that's probably pretty good right there. So I will place my Bible right in the middle so that you can see both. And then let's do the last one. So the third one, we'll just place right in the center. And we're going to ink that one, of course, the exact same way again. So the brown first, and then the dark blue, and then the light brown on the bird. And I'm going to stamp that one right in the center. So be careful when you're stamping these, and I know I say this every time, but it's just a good reminder. Don't just mash that into your paper. Don't press too hard. Just good even pressure. And if you have to practice a little bit before you stamp it, do that, because if you stamp this too hard in here, the lines are too thick and you end up getting too much color. So it's really important that you just do even, light, even pressure. Okay, so let's get going now. We're going to start out by pulling the color out of the lines, and make sure always that you don't have too much water, on your brush. And if you see too much color coming out, kind of like a blob, pinch your brush off. Don't get too much color on there. It's really hard to fix that once you've got too much on there. Okay, so we've got our little branches in here, so we're making good progress. So let's go ahead and do the same now with the little birds. So just carefully with a very dry brush, just pull that color out of the lines. Remember, when you're doing any type of little character, including a bird, make sure you leave a highlight at the top of the head. It's really, really important to do that. And this little guy up here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's go on from here now, and we're going to add our foliage into these little branches. So I'm just going to ink part of the vine, so just the top, and I can just kind of put it wherever. It's up to you how much of this you want in here. Maybe you just want the idea of it, so not a ton. That's totally up to you. And sometimes I kind of map these out on a separate piece of watercolor paper just to see what, you know, how I like it. So I always think that's a good idea. And remember, you can always come back in, you know, later and add a few more. So always keep that in mind. Let's see, do we need any more in here? Maybe just a little bit on this one. Okay, so we're going to now dip our brush in water and just soften those lines. Just kind of work your way over. And if you hear that noise in the background, it's raining pretty hard here. And I did not anticipate that when I started this video. And believe it or not, I'm in Arizona. So I really wasn't anticipating that rain. So I hope that's not a distraction for you. Okay, so I've got this done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some of this bright blue onto my palette. This is number 528. And I'm just going to put a little of this in the background. Don't touch the bird. You can touch the vine, not the branch, but you can touch the green with the blue. That's perfectly fine, but don't get anywhere near that branch or the bird. You don't want to bleed that color out. And if it's too dark, just add a little water to it and wash it out. Easy to do. And then let's add some down here to this little guy. And we're just kind of creating a little more dimension here. Rather than just having a stark white background, it just really adds a lot to have a little color in here. Okay, so let's go back now to adding some little flowers in here now. So I'm going to use this blue again, so make sure this is really dry first. And I'm just going to add some little blooms. And you know, again, you can put in just as many as you want. Totally up to you. And don't be afraid to just, you know, ink one or two of these. You know, that's perfectly fine too. And then just touch it with your brush. And it, you know, it changes the shape of those little flowers, and you wouldn't know that it was stamped. Love that about it. Because we want these projects to be quick and easy, but we also want them to look like little paintings. Okay, so let's keep going here. I'm going to add a little brown now to the branches, and that's that same dark brown that we started out with, number 969. And I'm going to, I think, just use my tiny little brush. So this is a number 1. So I've been using a number 4. So I really just use those two, a number 1 and a 4. But when you're doing these tiny little areas, it's really nice to have a tiny brush just to get in these little areas. And you can see on this little branch, you can see I'm leaving a highlight on there too. So at the top of every image, you want to have a highlight, even if it's small. And I'm adding this color after I've stamped in the foliage and the flowers because it's much easier to stamp over something that doesn't have too much color on it. And we can always come back in here now and add the brown after. Okay, so let's go on now to the little birds. And you can paint these whatever color you want to paint them. That's totally up to you. Just be sure that your brush is very dry so that you don't have too much water on it. You're taking just a little bit of color at a time and staying in each section. I can move that so that you can see. There we go, I think that's good. And I'm starting out, you can see I'm starting out really, really light. And even the tops, you know, of these little guys, we want to see that highlight on there. And you know, remember, you can always come back in and add more color. So better to err on the side of caution a little bit and just start out with it very light. Okay, so I'm going to add a little orange in here. I feel like we need something really bright. This is number 925, and it's pretty bright. So I'm going to add a little bit on his little belly here. And you can see how light this is. So every time you make another pass, so every time you add another coat of color, it's going to get darker and darker. So you can just keep making this as dark as you want. This is the fun part. And I don't know if there's really a bird that is blue with an orange belly, but there is now. Okay, and back to the blue again. So more color. Be careful to stay away from that orange. Leave the top, highlight on the top, and keep the face light. Those are kind of the rules. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And let's just add a little orange to these little guys' beaks. And I'm using my tiny brush, of course, these tiny little areas. And let's just add a little color to their little feet. So I'm going to now take my my fine point. So this is just a black, really fine tip. And I'm just going to color in the eye and make the eye really dark. And you can see how that just pops this image, pops the image out. And I'm just going to add a little more color in here. And in here. So now we can take the fine tip, everything's dry. We can take the fine tip and just go back in here over these little feathers and in the tail, and just make a few little lines in here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think we are finished with this little project, and be sure to date and mark that time in your Bible. So thank you so much for watching this project. I will be back again for the other side. So keep watching. Thank you so much.